out in the sun. And it's in the sun.
Welcome to Texas.
So we're going to angle this way a little bit so we can see everyone. Can you guys hear me okay? I think we have some stragglers. So, welcome. Glad to have everybody here. I don't know if Jen's around. Is she around? She's probably bringing people onto the land, but we just wanted to do a shout out and thank Jen for being the host for our Haven Earth Hemp Building Certification course. So we're still not finished, but we just finished the second of 3 weeks. So we have, who is here, who's been here, who's going to be here for the whole 3 weeks? Just raise your hand. So really grateful for this group of people that decided to say yes and show up to learn about hemp and also about building with hemp and beyond. So really want to thank our team, Bliss, Anna, and Billy, and Don over there, and Ramiro, who's documenting all of this, and we have some special guests that are going to share with you. So we're really grateful to open this up to the community. Did everybody get to experience, put their hands on the hemp?
Yeah. How was that?
That's not what you're supposed to say, John. It's still curing. So we just wanted to give you a little bit of introduction. I think most of you know on the mind. So we just wanted to tell you guys a little bit about Haven Earth and our vision for what we're working on. So maybe you can share a little bit first.
Yeah, I'm the other dog, just FYI.
I didn't say that right.
It's all right. I feel like we've been working like dogs, but that was just to get this. I just want to give a big shout out to everybody this week who did that amazing work. Basically in 4 days we hemped that whole structure. And that's not to be underestimated, how much work that took to really pull that together. We took a day off on Wednesday because I felt like if I didn't, then we wouldn't have this rah-rah at the very end where everyone just had to pull it together to make it happen. Because there's something in that when we really need to do something for a deadline, or I like to call it the living line, you know, to make something happen, it really shows the strength of the community, and that's really what it's been about here. We, you know, Haven Earth's about building, about hemp and other natural systems, so water systems, regenerative agriculture, and Evan's going to talk more on that. But also, it's really about creating community and how we come back together on the land. As I've been saying all this time, it's not necessarily what we do, but how we do it. Exactly. And I think that's a really big lesson to learn as we build out this new timeline. Haven Earth really, we see it as kind of a bridge to help people get from that old system into this newer system, a parallel system that we're literally creating right now by showing up here today, doing what we know is the right thing to do. As other people may be hiding out somewhere, we're coming together and choosing to really create what we want to see in the future, and I think that's really what Haven Earth's about. So
one of the big things is, like River said, how we do it, that moment of conscious conception. How do we conceive and birth what we're bringing into the world? And one of the things that I think we're all clear about is we don't want to bring in what we have, we want to bring in something new. Yeah. And so really it's important to set our intentions as individuals and as a collective, and one of the things that we've been bringing into the design aspect of what we're doing with Haven Earth, and we'll share some of this with you and with the guests that we're bringing along, is incorporating obviously hemp as a high frequency material, but also even bringing in Vastu. So we wanted to invite Ashim up here, came in from New York, to just take a moment to get us all aligned in the same frequency and really set the intention for our time together. And thank you to Bliss, Hannah, and Cassie for drumming in. If you guys don't know, Cassie's my daughter, just saying.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Yeah. So we're celebrating, what are we celebrating with hemp? We're celebrating the earth element and the water element. And tonight we'll be doing a fire ceremony, I think. So the fire ceremony, the fire element. And the air is everywhere. It's a field of mind. Vastu is the science of space. That's the element that we overlook all the time. And you are that space. Everything else is an attribute. From the space, all the other elements fall out. So we're going to have a little experience and unite in that space. If you just will entertain me for a minute. You just sit. Close your eyes, relax. It's not a meditation. This is just something that comes very naturally to a baby. Open your hearing. You'll use the sense of hearing. All of a sudden, all the things you didn't hear before become into your field. You can hear the wind. You can hear my voice. A little bit of movement around you. You're just breathing. Your mind comes naturally still. Only because you're allowing your hearing to take over your space. This is the field of space that we're in. Here we're all one. This is always here. It always has been. It's always a place you can return to. In this eternal witness, the awareness, everything happens. You are that. We are that. We are one in this. There is no individual. There's only this oneness that's listening. Just enjoy the repose. Enjoy the space that usually you enjoy in deep sleep, but is available to you in the waking state. Remember that you can always come back here. And remember that which is holding you at all times. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudakshate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. Thank you.
Thank you. We met actually talking about decentralized systems. I know some of you are interested in that. And then just recently, I found out that Ashim is as passionate about hemp as the frequency material and building that and some of the modular home designs that River has been visioning. So that, Vastu and hemp are really quite synonymous in a sense. So Haven Earth, when River had a vision a couple years ago, let's switch sides so I'm not in the sun. My most dreaded thing here. That we realized we both had shared visions, that we had sort of been doing the research independently before we met and kind of collided on paths. But we actually formed Haven Earth as a 508 ministry and a PMA, which is a private membership association, last June. So would love to invite anyone who wants to support our mission to become a member. You can get a cool t-shirt that my future son-in-law designed, and or my book, and really support what we're doing, be part of it. We want to continue to have events like this. Our goal is to establish the base camp, the Haven Earth Hub here in Texas and Hill Country, where it'll be like that campus, or really, I see it more as an incubator for the most cutting edge ideas and the innovations that are going to take us into that future timeline that River was talking about. So all of you are here showing up because somehow you're hearing that call, or you're feeling that things are moving in a new direction. So I just want to acknowledge each of you for saying yes, for hearing the call, and for being here with us to do this together, because it doesn't happen alone. This is something that we're going to all do all together.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yay. So I just want to take a moment to really appreciate this amazing woman that showed up in my life at a time when I was really challenged. My 17-year-old son at the time took his life in 2020, and it broke me open. And she was that person who kind of saw me at that time. And we realized that our purpose together was really to bring our gift to the world, and that we couldn't do individually, I don't think. And it was really together that we could really make that happen, I think. And you know, just being open about how we're doing it and our relating, I think is really what's helped me to come out of my old English ways of you know, holding it all in and not speaking the emotions and being afraid to be weak, you know, as a man. But I think now is the time for us men to really find that inner strength, which is really our feminine side. That's the really strong side of us. The masculine side of the aggression is actually that kind of weaker side, and how we temper that side with coming into you know, correlation and community with our divine feminine. And I just want to say she's really an amazing person in my life, and holds my feet to the fire. Her book, The Presence and Absence of Soil, I know some of you have seen out there. I had to read it several times because I had to kind of proofread it for this new
The latest version.
So I'm not much of a book reader. I like reading articles online and all that kind of stuff, so it was almost kind of torturous for me at first. And you know, and it's digging up a lot of stuff that we all know about how we got here in a way, but I think the way she does it and puts it together from a mama's perspective is really beautiful. And you know, she's really trying to hold space for these men to come up and step up. You know, in these times of really challenging times, for example, in Russia in the 90s, when Soviet wall came down and that economy collapsed and hyperinflation, it was the women who stood up. And it was mostly men who turned to alcohol and kind of ran away from their responsibility. And I think we need to be examples now as men, is how we can show up and hold space for these amazing women to bring through their intuition, and how we can, you know, kind of foster a new way of being in the future that's based around the heart. And I just want to say how much I love her. It's her birthday on Monday, and I just wanted to give her some flowers. And just thank you all for showing up. It means a lot.
Yeah,
So-
definitely means a lot to both of us. I feel like so many of you have been witnessing our partnership, and that's been really beautiful to share it. And we feel like that, you know, that was, I actually wrote this book 10 years ago when I was having a rant and trying to figure out why I brought so many children in the world. Some of you know I have 6 children. So it was really about my quest for truth and trying to figure that out and connect all the dots. Rewrote it before the pandemic rolled out, thinking I knew something. And right, you know, when I was starting to work with Sasha Stone and New Earth, many of you know that. After really digging deeper and seeing how more of the dots were connected, had to rewrite it again. And that was really including River's contribution and our partnership as the masculine and feminine, and realizing that when we heal those wounds is really when we can really heal all of the wounds. So it's a really big piece of the book, and he's a really big piece of my life, and I'm really grateful to have him in it. So thank you all for witnessing that. So if you have the old copy, you need to get the new copy, and I'm happy to sign it for you, because I have a lot more to say. I didn't know so much about the climate change hoax, you know, but if you follow David Wolf and all his
That
memes,
was me who burst that bubble.
he definitely got me on the solar minimum and the climate change even more. So, yeah, so thank you for that. So there's t-shirts and all that in the back table, and we have some other great people that are joining us, and we're going to bring up some of these guests, and I'll talk about some of them as we go along. So the first person, and maybe Gina and Evan, you can both come up here at the same time. So many of you know that, well, you might know that I ran an organic cafe where I homeschooled all my home birth children and did that for a decade, and so that was really sort of the foundation. So I've always been talking about, you know, nutrition and really educating people about organic before people knew what it was. You guys can have a seat for a minute, please. And then, you know, of course, influenced as everyone has been, by David Wolf with the Superfoods, and I was the first raw vegan cafe in Connecticut, and first one to do raw chocolate. Had all David's books, and we were talking about chaga and everything that, you know, when people didn't even know what all that stuff was. So that was really a foundation for me. It comes from food and nutrition and building that strong family. So there's been some really key things that have been really critical along that way. And actually the title of my book was this realization that if there's no soil, we can't grow food, and what was happening with glyphosate. And so that's really where I was getting to the absence of soil, and listened to Paul Stamets and said, mycelium, it's all mycelium. And then, you know, of course, realizing the microbiome and the importance of that, and we, you know, all know Dr. Zach Bush, I'm sure. And so Evan and I were actually at a soil and nutrition conference in Massachusetts, I think so, where I actually met Zach Bush years ago for the first time. We were in, what? Oh yeah, and yeah, definitely, yeah, it was a good conference. So we were standing at a table. What was the table we were? The glyphosate table. Yeah, we were standing next to each other for the glyphosate testing, and I was like, yay, you know, we started talking. I think we talked for 3 hours. Because obviously the connection around soil and understanding what was going on. So hemp is a critical solution for regenerative agriculture and repairing our soils. And Evan came in last night late from North Carolina, wanted to share a little bit with his experience specifically on regenerative agriculture and hemp. And then we'll move into the water systems, because he's been working on really cleaning up the waterways where he is in North Carolina, where it's really toxic. And that brings us into the conversation with Gina Bria, who's here, just came in from the Hydration Foundation. And she wrote the book Quench, and she's going to talk about a technology that's just coming out that we're super excited about, that using this structured hydrogen system that we're all using in our homes. I'm sure David will mention that when he comes up later as well. But this is specifically for the farmland and what we can do and how we can grow crops. So, Evan, we'd love to bring you up to share some words. And I'll move down on this one.
How's everybody doing? Well, what an honor to be here. So many activated people, and I just really wanted to honor what River said. I think that what you said was so powerful, you know, and Imanee, for the space that you're holding, and new friends, and yeah, I think it's appropriate. You know, it's right. I was telling the story of how we met a minute ago. Just kind of looked at each other and was like, hey, who are you? I know you, but I don't know you, you know? And the conversations that came out of that, and the timing around the glyphosate toxicity, which I'm sure you guys are all aware of. The first event that we went to, when you were doing the Red Pill Expo, you asked me to give a talk on hemp, on cannabis. You know, cannabis is the umbrella, right? Hemp and marijuana are different strains underneath that. The concept of regeneration is really rooted in this plant. This is what the hemp plant does. It bioremediates. It you know, cleans the soil as it grows. So this concept of regeneration is really close. And one of the streams of research that I've had, and I had a oh, sorry about that. I had a grow store called Progressive Gardens for about 15 years in Wilmington, North Carolina. And I opened it before cannabis was legalized. And it wasn't really the intention of opening this store, but it was something that I had to get really hip to really quick. I had the DEA coming through my front door wanting to buy, you know, marijuana and trying to sting my business. And it's very central to what we were doing. And I became very intimate with this plant. And what I've come to realize is that it is the gateway plant. You know, the way in which cannabis has formalized, they have labs in these grows. You know, they're growing the plant for the nutritional and the therapeutic value of the plant. That's really what we should be doing with food, right? I mean, come to find out, really think about this for a second. There's really not a mainstream market that evaluates food from a qualitative level. You know, we grow food so that it sits on the shelf for the longest, or so that it can be commoditized, you know, ugly food, right? This idea of, you know, how fickle we are and how we choose what we eat. And so this concept of the cannabis plant and what it was saying to us and how it was presenting itself to us is really a model of how we should be conducting all of agriculture. And, you know, one of the things that I came to through this was, you know, I was really inspired by biodynamic agriculture. If you guys have never heard of that, it's something I always like to reference when I have an opportunity to speak with people. The work of Rudolf Steiner is really transformational. It speaks to the spiritual reality, the fact that we are a precipitation of this spiritual reality. The oneness that was shared earlier is a reality, right? And we can invest in that. And there's so many more people coming to that table, and it's really exciting and inspiring. And this concept of, agriculture being more than farming. I'm from Wilmington, North Carolina. The county that I live in is very small. 70% of the county is the city of Wilmington. We don't have traditional farms, row crops. The property value is too high. So our county collectively has disassociated itself from agriculture. We don't identify that way. Oh, we're not agricultural, right? That's the other counties. Well, the real mission of the work that I do is about bringing everybody to take the seat that they have at the table of agriculture. We are all part of the agricultural system. Agriculture is food, farming, and health, right? Eating is an agricultural act. That may be one of my favorite quotes, Wendell Berry, right? So it's this idea that we're all a part of the agricultural system, and when we don't take an identity within that, we get what we got, right? And we've lost that thread. And a lot of what this is, and a lot of what I resonate and how Imanee and River and Gina and all of you show up is this realization that if we don't get the soil right, we can't get the plant right. If we can't get the plant right, we can't get the people right, And it's a very simple idea that we have abandoned. And if you look out into the agricultural realm and you see that 99.5% of farms are conventional right now, we've got a lot of work to do. But I'm tremendously inspired about the community that's being developed around this. I look forward to meeting all of you if I have a chance. I don't want to speak too long, but I did want to reference a couple of concepts that are alive. And Imanee mentioned the water quality issues that we're having locally. Frankly, that happens everywhere. It's more passive than active. And we actually had a Chemours company. It's a spinoff of DuPont. They did that to protect their liability. If you've ever seen the movie Dark Waters with Mark Ruffalo, it was in theaters not long ago. It was about DuPont poisoning Parkersburg, West Virginia. So they got sued for that. They lost. Largest public health study in the history of the world proved without a doubt that they were creating these health impacts. And so then they changed the molecule and moved to Fayetteville, North Carolina, and started polluting us. And we learned this about 4 years ago. It was a front page news article. And ever since, our city and our county have done zero to protect the people that are being poisoned. And it happens at the state level. And so I won't go all the way down this rabbit hole, but there's a concept called rights of nature. This idea that we can pass local ordinances that break state and federal preemption law, that allow us to sue corporate polluters, is something that I'm very, very hip on and very excited about. So if there's anybody that is experiencing this type of trespass from agricultural activity, from water pollution, whatever it may be, I would love to speak with you about it and connect and learn how we can help one another come into that realization. And I think that's a perfect segue to the work that Gina
I'll come in between, be a little commercial.
Yeah, perfect.
So I'm so grateful for you being here. Thank you. Yeah, Evan and I, we actually did a trip to Anarchapulco. I went with G. Edward Griffin, and I forgot I had had you speak at the Red Pill Expo. But that was when I got Steinerized. I think you talked the whole week about Steiner, which was great, mind-blowing. And then also, learning a lot about the crypto, what was going on, and just what was, kind of this conversation around water and solutions and everything that we're going to share with you guys. The one thing that the passion for soil, I know there's a lot of you here that are passionate about soil. I want to do a shout out for a mayor who we met at the Greater Reset, who actually connected us with Jen here and why we're here. He has his incubator project over there called Mod Garden. I don't know, where are you, dear? There you are. So he is as passionate about soil as Evan and I are, and he would love to talk to you as well. And you can learn more about his ideas where you can be growing your own food. Really focus, I love, Mayor, that you're focused on people that are living in cities that might not have access to that. And one of the conversations, we were just doing an interview with David and Gina Berea in the little Aircrete Dome over there, and we were talking about how water moves through, particularly in cities, and those pipes in these unnatural ways. And so I think it's appropriate time to bring you into the conversation, maybe talking about, we have, if you go in the kitchen over there, there's a spring aqua system. It doesn't have the filtration on it, but it has the part that actually structures and does the hydrogen without using electricity. We are using an electric pump here, but you can get the idea. So you can fill up your water bottles and try some of this. But I think if you could share a little bit about your passion for hydration. Yeah, we'll do a little musical thing, and then we'll talk about
Right.
the
Can you hear me?
new technology. You sound great.
Great, because the first thing I'm going to do is wish you a happy birthday and
Thank you.
an extraordinary year open up in front of you and the work you're doing. So I'm also very touched and honored to be here. It's very exciting to meet all you guys. We've had a lot of conversations already. So my work is the anthropology of soil, if you can imagine such a thing. And I love soil. I believe it's soil. And I think soil is a combination of many, many things. But one of the most important things in soil are the microbes. And the work of the Hydration Foundation is to rehydrate those dehydrated microbes. And there are so many of them, and they're so diverse under the soils that are just panting for water. And that's the work, I think, is the power of water to accelerate all other regenerative practices, and the power of water to accelerate all the decontamination. You know, water is the universal solvent. So we take these principles and looking at many indigenous traditions as well, and finding what those principles are. And one of the most powerful principles about water is it needs to move. It needs to swirl. It needs to vortex. It needs to be in conversation with the things around it in order to adjust and decide how to be a solvent in the soils and get rid of the contaminants, disassemble, dissolve the contaminants that are there. So you could see why I think water is the upstream solution to getting our soils to activate far more quickly than we would be able to with more traditional methods. And to do this work, to help bring vortexing back to water, because what we irrigate with now is really water with very little life left in it. So to get that life back in charge, we use a lot of vortexing techniques. And one I want to share with you comes from an indigenous tradition. And this was something that goes back to time immemorial. The Incas were using water to irrigate their crops that were already coming down from the high Andes and the mountains. They were already beautiful, gorgeous, spring-fed irrigation systems. But the Inca didn't stop there. They actually lined the channels that went out in their irrigation fields with ceramic tiles. And there was a great deal of interest about why they would do that. And it took the new science that we're working with, Dr. Gerald Pollack and the Fourth Phase Water, to realize what they were doing. What they were doing was actually adding additional electrical charge by running that water, already spring-fed, beautiful structured water, over those ceramic tiles and enhancing the water's ability to electrify the soil and bring bursts and growth of the plants, the microbes, the nutritional value of what they were eating. And they were doing that using less water. So I'm really excited because this is a premiere. You guys were at a premiere for...
We said this was an incubator. This isn't even out yet. You guys are the first to see.
This is a company, Spring Aqua. Kenny Lou, I've been working with the CEO to help train, educate, and rethink how we're bringing water to agriculture. So this is a simple device that has a series of vortexing or spinning funnels inside of it, along with chains of minerals that allow the water to come in on one side, and that whatever kind of agricultural water is being used, but to come out on the other side, highly charged with this kind of power to revive the soil microbes that they're not getting now. And that's why I do think that our attention to this kind of water, understanding that we need to be irrigating with a different kind of water, and allowing that water to come into the world. And it's happening.
So I'm going to interject here because
Yeah.
I'm super
It's
excited
heavy.
about this too. Yeah. So I remember on one of the lives that we did, and I loved it, you having your background in anthropology, but you talked about like even us using this water in our homes as a form of activism, because as we're using
Oh,
the water,
yeah, I'd love to talk
it's
about
going,
that.
yeah, and then
Right.
we'll talk about how we can use this as one of those tools.
Right. So activism around water is, I think, again, an accelerator, an extraordinary accelerator. So one place for activism to take power is in our personal hydration, because hydrating ourselves with living water, water that's been organized and created these ability to share electrons and create energy and electricity for the level of healing, and then beyond the level of healing is the ability to raise our cognitive power and open up new solutions. So water is the ultimate solution, in my opinion. It's the universal solvent and the universal solver, because our personal hydration then becomes our access to this unified field, and then allowing us to long for rehydrating the property around our house. We donate devices like this to farmers so that farmers can experience this.
So let's
All of the
talk about it,
activism.
because there are some growers here, and if you aren't one, maybe you know one. What's going to happen with this? Like, how are people, if somebody's growing food, how would they use it, and how's this going to work? Because I haven't gotten all the details.
Right,
but
you literally screw it onto the hoses or whatever system you're using. Maybe you're using pivots or drip
So this
irrigation.
is to irrigate crops.
Irrigating
And I know
crops.
that, I think the way Kenny said he was setting up is like people would rent this or buy one.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then-
so the model is also an activism model, because as you know, many of these devices are costly to produce, and what happens is all that cost gets dumped on the consumer or the farmer. And what we're trying to do is create a shared model where it's leased at a much lower level, so that you don't own the equipment, you lease it, and therefore...
Brilliant.
Yeah, it is brilliant. And so we can get farmers into using these devices quickly and easily, instead of having to send out another...
So if people
Right.
do they go to the Hydration Foundation if they're farmers and wanting to use this technology?
Yes, if you want to know the science behind this, the fact that it reduces water use by 30%, why would that be? Because
Amazing.
the electrical charge is more hydrating than the kind of liquid water we're using now, which is dead. So 30% reduction in your water costs, a reduction in your pumping costs. The benefit to the economic benefit to the farmer is almost immediate. Within one growing season, the land becomes decontaminated because the microbes have been awakened, and they're eating up all the glyphosate.
So we'll do another plug, another commercial, because we have Lucinda over there from Texas Ready. So if you're wanting to grow seeds, we have, and this is so
Yes.
incredible because,
Right.
well, one, I love the name, Texas Ready. We're becoming Texas, but I also love that it's Liberty Seed Banks. And so I'm going to read these out loud, Lucinda. The piggy bank feeds 2 adults a year. You have the lockbox that will feed 4 adults a year. The safe will feed 6 adults. The vaults will feed 12 adults. And the treasury, which we just got one, is 30 or more adults a year. And it's you buy it once, and then you use these non-genetically modified heirloom seeds and you replant them year after year. And I think people are ready for this. Lucinda was supposed to bring all these seeds, and she said that last week, in the week alone, they had more sales than the whole last year. So if you want to order seeds, you can do that with her, and I would get on the list and get, she's over there, she's got all the samples. Oh, and they're in an ammo box. Yeah. I love that. So, yeah, that was definitely the sell for me. I was like, oh, yeah.
So you have real seeds,
Right, real seeds.
water, real soil, and real food.
Exactly.
And then
So that's a perfect time to bring David Avocado Wolf up here, because these are all his favorite topics, among others. So we'd like to bring in, this was the first time I got the pleasure to introduce these two, who have been not in person, but David, I'm going to hand you the mic. We'll switch, we'll do a little rotation. What do you think about all this?
Well, I love the Rudolf Steiner reference.
Yeah, I thought.
So I'm going to get into that, because everyone's like, with what's going on in the world, everyone's like, what? How we do it out there? Okay, this is a good time. Put your phone down and just listen. No filming. You know, you have film with these cameras, but no Instagramming this.
Yeah, wait,
or
I
anything
just
else.
have to interject. So if you guys didn't know, David has been the most censored person ever. He was censored before everyone else, before it was cool.
Before it was cool.
Yeah.
That's how I found Telegram. Some of you know me from my Telegram page. Years ago, I got censored off YouTube. They deleted my YouTube page. By the way, that guy who deleted me on YouTube, just as the craziest twist of fate, I'm over at an apartment in Austin. I'm in the guy's apartment. As I get to know this guy, I'm like, you're the guy who deleted me. Crazy stuff. True story. That's how weird the world is. The world is not constructed as we think it is, so we're going to get into a little bit about that for a second, and we're going to talk about Rudolf Steiner. But I guess the first thing is, I got into Telegram all those years ago because it was just a platform where they're not going to, I realized this platform is not going to censor. Same with Signal, and I got on a couple others. Those other ones are gone now. And eventually I started asking my friend Natasha, who grew up in St. Petersburg. She knew Putin way back then, and she also knew Pavel Durov. They went to school together. He's the founder of Telegram. And she said, he's the best ever. He will defend your freedom to the end. Now, if you know the story there is that Putin basically tried to steal Pavel Durov's version of Facebook, his social media site in Russia. He did steal it. They essentially booted Pavel and his brother out of the country. They went to London and then went to Dubai, and they founded Telegram. So if you're on Telegram, there's a battle going on between Putin and Pavel Durov. So they're trying to ban Telegram, which is by far the #1 app in Russia and probably the #1 app in the world. They're trying to ban it in Russia, but there's just too many Russian hackers. They can't do it. And by the way, who's the last man standing? Telegram is. Oh no, World Economic for them. Nope. Tulsi Gabbard's a World Economic for them. You know what she said? I have to keep an eye on my enemies. That's how Pavel Durov is. You got to keep an eye on what's going on over there with Klaus Schwab. So here's the deal. What's going on, right? We suddenly incarnated, like everything's going great. All of a sudden, what? What's happening here? So this is a time that Rudolf Steiner said occurs every 10,000 years. And it happens once, and it's a polarity swing. So we're swinging to an extreme materialism, extreme technocracy, extreme technology being used for evil, leading to, I know this is going to rattle cages, it'll definitely be a thing that will go in, because when I first read it, first of all, when I started reading Steiner, I had to unlearn everything I ever learned to even understand one word of what was going on. That took 10 years. I get that. Eventually, a friend of mine, a Steiner scholar in the UK, she started sending me to my phone every day passages of Steiner. I have 100 Steiner books. I still didn't get it. But the daily downloads, look at this, read these 5 pages, how about this page, read that paragraph, read this quote, this, that, the other thing. Eventually I went, oh, I got it now. I finally got it. Finally got Rudolf Steiner. So I'm going to just give you that. I'm going to give you the cliff notes on Rudolf Steiner real quickly. Rudolf Steiner is reincarnated Aristotle. And Aristotle, if you remember, his thing is the golden mean. If you take something, let's say you're against fascism, okay, you become a fascist. It's an opposame. It goes all the way around. Next thing you know, you're back to where you started from. It's an opposame. Is communism and fascism really different? Nope, they're opposames. You start all the way over here, you're going to get them over here. Like the anti-racists are now racist, right? That's just, the anti-fascists are fascists. It just goes on and on like this. We see it. It's right in our face now. Steiner called it. He said this 100 years ago. He said this is where it's going to end up. What Steiner did is he came to bring Aristotle's golden mean and develop it even further. You've all heard of the golden mean, right? Like a virtue is a balance of forces. It isn't just one thing. Because if you're suddenly saying like, well, you know, we're going to have to stop fascism by, well, we should get these corporations on our side and they'll help us stop fascism. Look at the government on our side, they'll help us stop fascism. Next thing you know, the anti-fascists become fascists. Does that make sense? Okay, so this golden mean developed in Steiner's career, and this is what Steiner said is actually his whole reason for even being here. So I'm going to lay it on you. Is that on one side of the cosmic creative being, or the cosmic Christ that you are, is the temptations of escapism and giving over your power, disintegrative forces. And on the other side of the cosmic Christ of your being, the center creative being that you are, is materialism and algorithms, and everything can be categorized, and everything can be materially explained, and technology is going to solve all our problems. And these two forces are strange attractors, and dangerous strange attractors that can suck us in. Like if you get pulled into the escapism, You end up in alcoholism and drugs. You end up, oh, this guru knows more than me. I'm giving my power over to this guru. That stuff. And by the way, as a physical condition in a human being, that turns into diabetes. Because all this is related. The orientation of our consciousness turns into our condition. If you're hyper-materialist, like the Western businessman, like, okay, we get this, we're going to count these things, then what happens? You start having calcification diseases. You start crumbling to pieces. You start hardening up. We're going to turn into a heart attack over here. Now this polarity, which he called an Ahrimanic polarity, the escapism is what he called a luciferic. I would say a luciferic energy would probably be the best way to say it. But the Ahrimanic forces in our era right now in the 21st century, Rudolf Steiner said it's going to come to a head. It's going to come to a pimple pop. It's going to come to a pimple pop of evil. And it will come to, here's the one, you have to do the prep work first. This is the one I read for 20 years. Sure, Rudolf Steiner. Now I'm going, he was right. It's going to come to an incarnation of the Antichrist as a physical flesh and blood being. That's the one. See, you're like, what? The Antichrist as a physical flesh and blood being. And he says the Antichrist is born in this century. It's not Bill Gates. It's not Zuckerberg. It's someone born in this century. And it will come to and it's not an artificial intelligence, because I went back and I reread Rudolf Steiner, and he said, it's a flesh and blood being. He didn't have to say that, but he knew it would be misinterpreted later as an AI, so he said that. And that will be the culmination of this century and of all the evil. So what's going to happen next? Well, we can kind of see where this is going. They want the world war so that they can take away more rights. They can fund their never-ending war. They're going to obviously go to the next thing, which is food shortages and supply chain breakdowns. And then step by step by step, it cascades into totalitarianism. Then comes the fake alien invasion. I know. You're like, there's no way. Let me tell you, I've investigated for years. In 2004, a friend of mine, good friend of mine, best friend actually at the time, he left me the tapes on how the moon landing was faked. And I got the idea from studying that. It was a 4-hour documentary thing that you could never find on TV, but it was on VHS tapes back in the VHS days. I got the idea. I'm just going to put it out there because I need to put it out there, because the truth needs to be spoken and needs to be given a voice. No matter how much you bought into the satellite nonsense, no matter how much you bought into the rocketry nonsense, I'm going to tell you the space program's fake. It's shiny object syndrome. Look over here, shiny object, look at this. Meanwhile, they're launching a balloon over there. I can show you at the Esrange spaceport in Sweden that 3 days after they launched the satellite over here, the Satelloon was launched over there quietly. I can show you that if you want to know. A lot of people don't want to know the truth. Some people do. It's fake. Why is it fake? And I know about the murders that were committed to keep the fake space program in place in people's consciousness. That's all been exposed. They're not going to take an asset like that and just get rid of it. They're going to use it. They're going to use it, and it's going to be it's going to be a fake alien invasion. All the years of uncoding the fake space stuff, it's all the satellite stuff is satelloons, they're balloons, high altitude drone balloons. I've been saying that for years and years. Sometimes they come down and you'll see it on Twitter. Sometimes you'll see it on Facebook. Sometimes you see it on your social media, and there it is, it crashed. There's the whole thing, the whole assembly, everything. People still don't get it. They're still, oh no, rocket and fake X. Disinformation agents are in the mix. That's part of the Ahrimanic deception. It's part of the age that we're in, and you know who that could be, if you know what I'm saying. Some of you have to read between the lines. So what's going to happen is it's going to go to a pimple pop of evil, and then it's going to get better. It's going to get better.
Like the best day ever?
Yep. And we'll pop out on the other side, and we'll just get better and better and better. And what Steiner said about this time that we're in, the 20th and 21st century, he said, because one of his students is like, how are they going to look at the 20th and 21st century in the future? And he's like, they're going to look at it as the things not to do. It was so judicious the way he described that. They're going to look back and go, don't do what they did. It will never be like this again. And this is what we are going through right now, and it's kind of epic because we get to be here. Okay, we get to be here for this. I'm going to show you the best ever. Watch this. It's going to happen. Hang tight. we're going through a peak of evil. We're going through a pure aromonic deception. We're going through the deception that's been laid, the groundwork for it's been laid 100 years ago, 200 years ago, and it's culminating and it's building up. And eventually what will happen is we will live through it and we'll go, we know what not to do and we know what to do. We know what's real and we know what's fake. My God, how much fake stuff is out there. Isn't that part of our lesson? We'll know what's real, what's a real epidemic, and what's a hoax. Won't we? So let me show you. Let's just imagine this is us and that's them. Okay? As soon as that pimple pops, here's where it's going. Ready? This is us and that's them. As soon as that pimple pop happens, here's what's happening. See how that works? Everything's in balance in the universe. Actually, to quote Victor Schauberger, everything's in dynamic equilibrium. So it's moving, swings over this way, and those will swing over that way, and those will swing over that way. So we're in a swing over here right now. But when it swings back, we're going to be wiser. We're going to be smarter. We're going to be more capable. We're going to be more earth-friendly. We're going to be happier, real happy, depth of happiness. Can you imagine we get all through this, what kind of happiness is going to be coming out? Can you imagine when it's not a constant parade of the next scam and the next crisis and the next BS and the next money ripoff and all that? Just imagine the joy that will be emitting from our hearts. We're going to find out after all this what it's really like to be in the heart, because that's really what it's all about. And Steiner said, by the way, that 100 years after his death, anthroposophy, or his philosophy, would make a resurgence and help us to deal with the time that the catastrophe, he said, of that moment, which is what we're going through right now. If we're already today having the best day ever, just imagine how good it's getting when we get on the other side of this. Just think about that for a second. We can right now be totally connected to the joy and magic of the earth and the soil. We can be totally connected to the magic of growth and what's happening over here with the budding of all these leaves. We can be totally connected to the magic of a hemp building and the incredible beauty of that and just the feelings of that and all of that. Think about that. And then that to be accelerated and accentuated into the future, how good is that going to be? So if we can make it great right now through all this chaos, just think about how good it's going to be for all of us and for all future generations. And that's the crux of our time. This is the moment we've actually all been waiting for. And our karma is such that we're going to see it. Isn't that epic? Isn't that epic? Anyway, you can find me on Telegram at David Avocado Wolf. I want to thank Imanee on her wonderful birthday. Thank you for being here for your birthday and just donating your time to have the best day ever with all of us.
I just have to, so a year ago, we were together for my birthday, and we all hung out, me, you, and Robina, and so then River's been following you on Telegram, right? So, I was just telling him, I was like, this is like seeing David's memes live, like watching you go off all this, and, when he's on his phone, I'm like, it's always, he's following and reading your memes, because he's sitting there laughing in the corner. I'm like, are you watching to David again?
I learned long ago with art, is that the feelings that are happening at the moment that the art's created, the feeling that happened when the hemple went up, the vibrations, is captured by the construction, the art, the architecture, whatever it is, and the music. And I felt that on that building over there. It's got the good vibes.
High vibe.
Thank you, everybody.
And David's an epic drummer. So, we don't have a drum kit here today, but you brought it
I always bring my little thing. I learned years ago, I'll do my little drum thing tonight while we're sitting around the fire, but I learned years ago it's, a friend of mine's like, he's like, you're never going to be the best drummer. You're never going to be this. You're never going to be that. And I kept looking at him going, well, I'm going to learn all the stick tricks and make it look like I'm good. Because it's all about how you look. It's not actually about how you're playing when it comes to music. And if you look good enough, people go, oh, yeah, he's good. Anyway, this time that we're in right now is a really wonderful time for all of us to get together and build communities, because this is what will survive into the future. And we are the messengers for the children of light.
Yay.
So that leads us to our next topic of high vibration. We're going to bring on some live music. Thanks, David. Really excited. And actually, my daughter is a kick-ass djembe drummer. I don't know where she is. Where are you, Cassie? And Do you have your drum? Just to kind of kick off the live music section. I know they're going to have to set up mics. So really appreciate everyone again just being here, showing up, and responding to the invitation and hearing the call. Do you want to add anything? Oh, if you're not on our mailing list, did I say that already? You guys can do Hemp, H-E-M-P, to 66866 if you want to get our updates and what we're doing to build out this new timeline.
You did say it, but it's
it
good
again.
to say it again. And if you try it, it's fun actually. It comes back faster than you think you're going to even send your message out. So it's interesting how technology works. I just want to thank everybody for sharing, for the wisdom of all these amazing people.
Did you learn a few things?
Yeah, I just want to give a round of applause for everybody who shared this amazing knowledge. It's not knowledge that they've learned in a textbook. This is years of hard-earned knowledge in the field, being pioneers. And
Hempineers.
And yeah, exactly. And really, that's where we all are today. We're literally all pioneers of this new Earth timeline that we're creating. And you know, just been amazing to watch everybody see each other these 2 weeks and really hold space for each other to be their authentic self, because that's more than enough. And I think we're coming out of the illusion that we need to be something other than that, and it's really beautiful to, you know, be part of holding that container for that to happen. Jen gets to have a beautiful hemp structure at the same time, and we get to have a life-changing experience. So I just want to give gratitude for everything that's happened, and looking forward to finishing off the hemp structure in the next week. And just enjoy the rest of the evening.
And then people can actually come and stay in it, right, Jen?
Shotgun.
We missed you at the beginning. Give you a shout. Jen, maybe stand up so people can see
Yeah,
the
Jen.
beautiful hostess for this property and this event. So we really appreciate you, Jen. But if you want to have a whole experience,
She didn't quite know what she was getting into.
but she said yes right away.
And she said yes every step of the way.
Yeah, it's been wonderful being here and activating this land. This is definitely part of the vision, right? Activating the grid and putting these structures all over it. So.
And I just want to say a couple more things. It's not like it was easy. No, really. I mean,
We
just
always
not
make
just
it
not
look
just
like
the
it
hard
is,
work,
though.
but you know, just to make this happen. We didn't have a hemp mixer, and we didn't have the minerals. Luckily, we have a hemp supplier in Texas now.
Woo!
Who's doing the
Actually, you
decodification.
should just say something about that.
Yeah, Lone Star Industrial, who are out of Waller, Texas, right next door to Hempstead, Texas, who used to grow hemp a long time ago. They basically opened up the biggest hemp processing facility in the United States.
And we were their first client.
And we are their first client. So, you know, and there's definitely been some challenges with being these pioneers. We literally had a hemp mixer that was stuck up on a ridge in the snow in northern New Mexico, and the only way we could get it was with a crane truck.
And Don.
And our man Don, who drove there from Colorado in a snowstorm, and his truck broke down on the way. But luckily he's a savvy guy and he figured out how to fix it.
And he was on a hero's journey.
Then the crane truck driver decided that they weren't going to come get the mixer down off the ridge. So we were just, you know, he hung around in New Mexico until the sun came out. We managed to get the mixer off the ridge with a crane truck and get all the binder here. And then, lo and behold, Jen went to pick up the hemp, and her truck broke down on the way here. About half an hour outside Texas.
How many tons of hemp?
Hmm?
How many tons of hemp?
There's like 2 tons of hemp on her trailer. Her truck broke down, and her truck had just towed an 8,000-pound tiny house, like 6-hour drive. So there was something happening that was trying to stop us from doing what we're doing here. And there's a lot of forces that are trying to stop us doing good things right now. And we want to stop. We're like, nah, it's too much, it's not going to happen. But we just keep going, and we just, like Bruce Lee said, like the water, every obstacle that came, we just crashed against it and moved around it. And now we're here, and we did it. And I think it's a record-breaking feat that you guys did. I just want to give a big up. Dane for fixing the mixer. Our mixer broke of the paddles on the mixer broke off.
We happen to have a welder in the
We
workshop.
bought a welding machine. He
Hey,
welded
dang.
it back on. It broke off again. He was up till midnight last night welding it back on. We've gone through hell and high water to get here.
You guys have no idea.
You know, it looked
Some of you
beautiful.
do.
Everyone's like, oh, must have been fun. It was really challenging, but I just want to thank you all for like keep showing up every day. I love you all dearly, and I hope you all stay connected. So thanks everybody.
So we're going to have a little intro from Cassie, who's been in my life since she was 10 and definitely understands me probably more than anyone here other than River. So really appreciate her support. And it's just so awesome to have her. And then Bliss and Hannah, who will be performing Hannah's Field, are also from Connecticut, where we've been, I don't know, kind of hanging out for about 3 decades, raising kids. But it's so awesome to have them here from my old timeline, to be integrating to all of you and share their love for music and the power of vibration. And we also have a special local guest, Betsy. Where are you? Woohoo!
Betsy
Who's gonna
Phillips.
be Freedom Junkie Radio. Who's gonna? I think she'll start up before Bliss and Hannah because she's got. It'll be a great follow up for David's talk. So I think she has some songs that you'll really enjoy around importance of freedom. So with that, they're going to set up the stage. If you brought dishes to share in there, there's potluck, the food is in there. We'll put some things out. So enjoy the music, enjoy each other, network, connect, and have a great rest of the evening. Thank you all for being here.